one of the reasons we pushed it to April was because that's around the time of his assassination.
Right.
I mean, that's what I meant to say. I'm sorry, his birthday is in the assassination.
And then the other part was just, you know, after this, from this point on, the weather's going to be.
Absolutely.
And so for a parade,
You have to keep
and it's a parade.
2 seconds.
So we, you know, it's already bitter cold.
Right.
You unmuted everything.
I did.
Hi everybody, this is Sharon. We're about to go live. I'm getting some phone calls. Stop calling me. Hi everybody. Just testing to see if you all can hear me. If you're out there, just say hi for right now. Okay, we're getting started.
Hello, and welcome to Girls Gabbin again.
Hello, everyone. How are you today?
We're a few minutes behind, but we're getting ready because this is MLK's celebration show. So we have to take a little minute to, you know, make sure we're on point with everything. We have some wonderful guests we want to share with everybody on Girls Gabbin. And we just wanted to say hello, happy Sunday. I know we weren't able to join you all live last week because of the weather. But hopefully you were able to tune in because I did get some feedback from people that were telling me they were trying to watch the show and the game.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
so
a good thing.
We
compete with the game.
So I forgave them and said, you get a second chance to see our show because we ran a replay of the first show. So I'm sure you all are caught up now, right? So we are going to go straight into talking about what the show is about this week, which is we're celebrating Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
Yep.
And we want to talk about, in addition to that, just history, you know, really get into where we came from, how we, you know, feel the way we do about things, what's happened in our lives. And we have Darius Stanton and Sharon Parker who are going to share some awesome nuggets with us about Martin Luther King Jr. or history or synergy itself. So we want to go straight into it. And if you have any questions, please comment on the Facebook page, whether it's Win DC Radio's Facebook page or one of our personal pages, Girls Gabbin's page. Leave some comments, questions, because we will definitely get back to Sharon or Darius if they have questions on, you know, things that they heard, etc. But we're going to share with you at the end. Andrea's going to let you know how we can be contacted, and also the guests are going to let you know how you can contact them after the show for anything that they may have coming up that you're interested in. So, Andrea?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello,
everyone.
Share?
As we're getting in, like Lisa just spoke about the Martin Luther King birthday celebration, I want to thank our guests for, first of all, being here with us today to share some history, some knowledge.
Question. Our pleasure.
We have two great people that will be sharing a lot of history, in-depth information, and getting everybody on point about what's to come and what has been.
Yes.
So,
well, before we get started, we did say that we wanted to kind of have a what's the gab moment. And during that time with the shows going forward, we want to just talk about what's in the news or whatever's going on that we might want to talk about. And today we decided that we wanted to kind of just mention the furlough workers and let everyone know that you all are all in our prayers.
Definitely.
And that I have actually been sharing, and I think Andrea has as well, any information that we found out about how you can help the federal workers, whether it's churches or organizations. So what we're trying to encourage our viewers to do is to share all of that information. Yes. I know there's some groups out there that have been doing some amazing things. And then we gave tidbits on what you can do to help, whether it's the Cash App thing that's going on, Cash App your friends or things, you know, just a little bit of something, just to know you're thinking about them. Give somebody a call, let them know you know that they're in your prayers, or share some information that you find out. I've been trying to do it on my page just so whoever it touches reaches, and I just encourage everybody to do the same. Girls Gabbin just wanted to let you all know that we hear, you know, what's going on, and
you're definitely in our prayers.
You're definitely in our prayers.
And if there's any of those groups that want our help, just let us know, especially with us being on our broadcast on Sundays, posting on our page. we're looking for any ways that we can help too, because it's not just, it's a community problem. So
Absolutely.
we want to be a part of that.
So that's what the Gab is for today, because that was to us first
Heavy.
and foremost.
Yes.
Right. So we're going to go into sharing our wonderful guest. And I don't know, maybe we should have had them draw strings or something.
Well, you know, ladies always first. Ladies always first.
That's what you were going to say.
No doubt
Sharon
about
already
it.
put it out there. She
No
said, start
doubt
with me.
about it.
Start with me.
So we're first going to start with Sharon Parker, and I wanted to introduce you to Sharon Parker. When we talked about the subject matter for Girls Gabbin this week, you are the first person that I thought of, because when it comes to history or truth, synergy, or anything, Sharon just pops in my head. It's like the first thing I think of. So I thought, what an awesome guest we could have. And I want to give you a little background on Sharon, and then I'm going to let you, Sharon, tell about you and what you're doing, because you can say it better than no one else.
That's all right. Consider it
Sharon Parker is actually the leading within strategist and is known for many things to many people. She's a legacy seeker, a passionate and purpose teacher, and a heart-led fact seeker. History is her passion. Okay, she if you talk to her, she's gonna teach you something before she go on to what she has to talk about. She has a book out, True Synergy Works, Leading Within, 7 Defining Principles of Knowing Self to Birth Greatness. She's going to tell us about how you can get that. And she's just going to share with us some things about what she does in the community to bring youth and senior citizens and all ages together to learn from each other. So welcome, Sharon Parker.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you all for inviting me. Lisa, love you, sweetheart. We've been together for years. Andrea, I'm just meeting you, but I'm just so proud of you all. I saw your promos, and I'm like, yes, I can't wait to be on this show. You all were just fabulous. I love you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for having me. But I just want to start with, just a little bit about just who I am as a person. I'm not talking about titles, and I'm not talking about what I've done and who I've done it for. I just want you to know that I'm a very, very sincere person who really want to give back. And I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, and I love just looking out for young people. I mean, I feel so much for them because I remember when I was a little kid. And I remember growing up in the rural areas. And I don't know if you all have ever heard of Calvert County. It's not far from here, about 45 minutes. But it was like, living in North Carolina or South Carolina because, my parents did not have transportation to get to Washington, D.C. So I grew up in an era. And I'm just going to put my age somewhere out there. But I grew up in the 60s. And I grew up, I was 5 years old when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And I don't know, anyone that's been on my platform, Lisa have heard my story, but, I talk about the power of 5. And the power of 5 means to me is power and it's grace. But the way you tap into that power and grace, I believe you have to first know who you are.
Absolutely,
you have to know where you came from, and you have to stay there. I don't care what's going on around you. I don't care who's in the White House. I don't care. I mean, I'm telling you, when I started Rosa 10 years ago, Barack Obama was in the White House, and I was still pushing history. I started Rosa in 2008, and now that we had President Trump in the White House, I'm still pitching history. So it's not about the person at that top level. It's about where you are and what you believe in yourself, because if you do study history, history will tell you it does repeat itself. Now, we're living in an era, I know you all know about the housing crisis. I've been working at the Department of Housing and Urban Development for 30 years.
Wow.
I have gone through
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations. I have a furlough.
right.
But I've been working there for like 30 years, and I've gone through government, shutdowns, but nothing like this.
Right.
So first of all, I want to say, because I know it's affecting parents, husbands and their whole, wives and husbands and their whole family. So I want to say to everyone out there, guys, I'm really sorry about what's happening, because I know you have not even gotten over what happened in 2008 during the housing crisis. You were just coming around to reinvent yourself, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and to be hit with this right now, this is why I say history repeats itself. So in 2000, and it's going to give you a little background, in 2013, I had my first annual conference. It was called the Unconditional Love retreat.
Okay.
I held that conference because I knew back then how people were going to lose value because of the economical crisis, dealing with housing, banking, utilities, you name it. I knew they were going to lose value. And I wanted to show that no matter what they had or did not have, there was someone who loved them enough to allow them to still step into their rightful place and shine. So Lisa was one of our speakers there, and she did an awesome job. But that platform really was about teaching adults at the time how to come out and tell your story from triumph, from struggles to triumph. What have you gone through since 2008? How have you overcame it? And then what you're doing now in society. So to bring it back to 2018, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. 50 years as of last year. And I perpetuated that all over my platforms. Everywhere I went, I'm like, guys, do you know the significance of this year? And a lot of people, unfortunately, didn't know.
No, right.
I mean, I was giving away books, I was giving away money, and unfortunately, our community did not know. I don't understand that.
Right.
I don't understand how we didn't know that. Because I felt like if we did, we would have been a little better prepared and would not be dealing what we're dealing with now.
Right now.
So what happened? Martin Luther King was fighting for what? Equal rights, housing, employment, women's rights. I mean, all of the issues that we're facing now, he was fighting 50 years ago.
Right.
We should have never forgotten that history.
Right.
Right.
So I'm just going to stop right there because I have so much to share, but I don't want to bombard you with everything. I just want to just give you a little recap of it, just to share with you how passionate I am about sharing history and how I'm excited to be here because Dr. Martin Luther King, I mean, I tell you, I was at his monument, when was it? Last Wednesday, I believe, and then know that that's closed right now. It's unbelievable because of the government shutdown. Just like the National Museum on African American History and Culture is closed.
Right.
Should not be in 2019.
Right. Especially like right now.
Right now.
All the money that has been invested in those museums, they should
Absolutely.
not be closed right now. Even if the government is closing down, we should still have enough funds coming in from the community to make sure those two individual museums are kept open. So I share all of this in my book. You all know, especially Lisa, I just held my 6th annual Leading Within conference.
Congratulations.
And thank you very, very much. And I held it because my passion was let people truly understand what leading within is. I could write another book on what I have experienced in the last 10 years with Rosa. I don't point anyone out, but I'm a little disappointed how we talk unity, but we're not really living unity.
That's right.
And our ancestors did not think like that because they were looking out for the children, the grandchildren, the whole community. We as a whole are not looking out like that anymore, and maybe this is a reality check for us, what's happening in 2019. Maybe it's a wake-up call, if you will, to say, people, stop what you're doing. We have enough. Now let's go back to the basics and figure out how we can work collectively together.
We've lost that love thy neighbor thing.
Exactly. So my true synergy work, leading within, true synergy is just what it is. How do you build the right connection with the right people who understand the basic fundamentals of what unity is?
Absolutely.
How do you do that? You have to be very, very aware of what's going on around you, which means you have to be conscious, obviously, but you have to be focused. And if I can leave anything to the young people, don't let social media, don't let the radio, the TV, the games, whatever you're watching, get you off track on the gift God has put into you in order for you to discover your greatness, because there's a lot of people out there snatching it from you right now because we're giving it away. We're putting it all out there on social media and giving it away. So hold what's passionate to you in your heart, in your mind, until you're ready to launch it. So I teach that in my story. And I tell you guys, I was 5 years old playing on the church ground in my hometown in Calvary County in 1968. And I asked God one question. God, why was it, or why is it that people of color are not liked by others? in 1968, the same year that Dr. Martin Luther King got assassinated.
Right.
I tell everybody, I went back to playing, never expecting to get that question answered. And I tell you, I'm a very fun, love being to myself, but I'm fun. So I never imagined that I would just go into my little cubbyhole and just say, you know, research who you are, Sharon. Go back and study your family history. Find out what your family was about. And that's when I found out that my family had a lot of land. We still do in Calvary County. You know, about the 40 acres and a mule, right? Okay, we had that. All right, and the family still have it. But I don't know if you are going to see this book on Facebook, but, you know, I share a lot of time about this house on my book. And my grandparents owned this house, and they were entrepreneurs in Calvert County. And I didn't really know that growing up. We were one of those homes that had lights all around it, and it was knocked down, I think, in probably in 69 or later in 68. But the point is, I did my research, and I studied my history, and I studied the history of Calvert County. And if you all don't know, woo! Africans came in Calvert County, okay, and that history goes as far back as 1647.
Wow.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know that.
And in my book, True Synergy Work, there's a young man, I can't think of his name, but he did a lot of history in Calvary County. He allowed me to actually put it in my book. So I'm just going to say, if anybody watching me right now on Facebook, if you want to go to www.leadingwithin.org, go and get a copy of that book. But if you text me right now at 202-365-8277, I'm going to give you a free copy. And I'm only giving it to 2 people. Okay?
I know
that's 2 people.
Okay.
But I'm just sharing with you, it's phenomenal history in this book. I mean, every African-American person you can possibly think of, I captured in this book. I use their quotes, and it's positive. So the 7 defining principles of knowing self is what we really talk about. But that's a workshop, so I can't give it all away today. I just want you all to know that I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday and his celebration, because his birthday was on February 15th.
Right.
Okay, we're just celebrating a holiday as of Monday, but don't forget his 50th assassination was on April 5th of last year. April 4th of last year, not 5th. April 4th of 2018 was his 50th assassination, and that's what we should have been thinking about.
Absolutely.
So
because there's a lot of work to be done.
Oh my God!
And it starts here. If this is news, which I know is new news to a lot of people.
Yes.
I mean, I have my book. I was making sure she would sign my book. I got my book.
I gotta get my copy.
You all really need to. I mean, because the reason why I connected with you is because history is so important. It just a lot of questions that you come up with just kind of randomly.
Yes.
If you knew your history, you could probably answer a lot of them for yourselves. Just
Absolutely.
where you came from, why you think the way you think. It's all
Absolutely.
in there.
It's in there.
It's in there. So I appreciate. We're blessed to have you on the
show.
And I mean, I always loved, even, I don't know why, but Martin Luther King, even as a child, and it might have been a subconscious connection, but I celebrated my 50th last year, April.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it was such a big deal when your event came around, because I was like, 50 is a big number for me. And it's like the start of, you know, I didn't see it as, oh my goodness, I am 50 years old.
No, but
it was like
you
life
stated.
felt different. And then you want to know about who you are.
Exactly.
Okay, why have I been doing what I've been doing for 50 years?
Absolutely.
So then you start to understand who you are, what's going on in the world, and it doesn't hit you so hard, because I know this is hitting people hard. But learning your history and what we went through does prepare you for what's going on now. So I appreciate.
One of the things, Sharon, you also spoke about, you have a workshop coming up?
Yes, I have a few activities coming up, but I want, before I even go into the workshop, I just want people to know how, because I read about your show, and I like the fact how diverse you are.
Thank you.
And although we're talking about African American history and culture, which I'm a definitely fan of. I want you all to know that I have other roles as well. Every platform that I'm on, I use those platforms to teach history or to share history or put the light on history. But I'm also the president in Maryland for the Maryland chapter of American Mothers, Inc.
Yes.
Now, American Mothers is a large organization nationwide, and it's an organization that supports mothers and girls and their family. And it's very, very diverse. So I want my audience out there to know that as much as I love myself and my history, I'm always working on, different platforms to, one, inspire people, to also help our next generation, which are the young, entrepreneurs and the millennials. But just know that American Mothers is something that you all may want to look into as well. www.americanmothers.org. Okay, so check that out. But my workshop, I have a few. I have several programs, first of all. Let me just go backwards with the program. One of my programs is called the Rosa's Youth Empowerment Series. We pronounce it RISE. Okay. That program is designed to connect professionals to the next generation to have them follow in their footsteps. So it's more of a leadership platform.
I like that.
But we build that synergy, through myself and my team will go out in the community. We'll meet you all, okay? And then when we have our conferences, when we have our workshops, when we do our special events, we invite you out there to the events. But we're not inviting you to just say, hey, look at me, look what I do.
Right.
We're inviting you to really connect, to build that synergy with the next generation. And to not only talk to them about what you do, but take them by the hand and show them what you do. So that's what we do with our RISE program. We also have a Rosa Youth, a Rosa Ancestral Sighting program, and that's where we go out and we meet those elders. Keep in mind history, right? Who knows the history better than our elders, right? So we go out in the community and we find people that's 75 and older, and we tell their story. I don't know if you all know of Anthony Williams, the former mayor of D.C. His mother's name was Virginia E. Hayes Williams.
Yes.
Very powerful in D.C. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2014. But before she passed away, guess what? She was at our 2013, our first annual conference, and that woman took me by the hand, and showed me the who's who in Washington, D.C. before she passed away. And I made some great connections. So it made my journey a little easier, as I'm out there learning about who I am, learning about my history and inspiring the next generation. She took me by the hand and said, Sharon, I'm going to show you how to do this.
She's a wonderful woman.
I learned so much. And I always seek out my elders when I'm trying to put something out in the community. So I don't know if you know Dr. Ife Williams. She's a national president for the National Congress of Black Women. Okay, she's been seeing me, in the community. And keep in mind, I'm a country girl, who didn't want to come into D.C. and get engaged with everybody because I was so, stuck in, I'm from the South and people don't know me and I'm going to, have a presence out there, but I never gave up because I loved who I am. So I came to D.C., I met Dr. Ife Williams. She was also at the first annual conference, the Unconditional Love Conference, and she just, saw me over the years, and she allowed me to bring young people into her headquarters, in Washington, D.C. for at least 2 summers now, for 6 weeks, and she teach them what she does with her annual luncheon that she does when I think it's the Congressional Black Caucus come into town. She'll have a luncheon like that Sunday. So my youth, the RISE youth, will work with her for 6 weeks and actually help her plan that event. So the Rosa Youth Empowerment Series program, it really is live because we had to work together collectively, but someone had to go in their community and make that true synergy, and someone had to know the purpose on why we were doing it. So that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years with RISE. I've also been to the Francis Cardoza Educational Center in D.C. The school. I can't think of Francis. I think it's Francis L. Cardoza Educational Campus. We were there teaching STEM, and we brought some more children in, and that was, I believe, in 2016. And we were there again for 6 weeks, and our RISE youth had an opportunity to get certifications in the flying free of charge.
Wow.
Free of charge.
That is awesome.
But it's just building that connection.
Absolutely.
Right? So what am I doing now? God, there's a couple of things coming up. I just made some collaborations with my hometown school. It's called Calvert High School. So we have a program called now Leading Within, the Roadmap to Self, Rise with Swag. Rise with Swag is about speakers, writers, artists, and gurus. Nice. So now we're teaching high school students on how to find their swag by having them tap into those
That's
the
nice.
they have,
I like that.
and then to share. But the twist I'm putting on it, I'm showing them project management.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm showing them the skill sets on what it takes to plan. You know, what it takes to learn tools and techniques. What it takes to do your marketing, to brand yourself. You know, what true leadership is. How to do mentoring, and we're connecting the community to them to have them come to the school. So we're looking for alumni. So if you're out there, Calvert County alumni, we're looking for you to come to Calvert High School. We're doing I think they're calling a luncheon tour in March of 2019, but stay tuned for the date. But we're bringing the community back into schools because a lot of our children need them.
Yes.
So that's what I'm doing now, and I have one more event I'm going to be doing in February. I'm taking 3 young girls, and they're 8, 10, and I think 13, to the Barnes & Noble. And they're going to present their book, their authors.
Nice.
So they're going to be presenting their book at Barnes & Noble's
Very
on
nice.
February 16th. And I know y'all know what, I'm messing her name up, but her name is Miss Green, Tanisha. Tanisha, you're going to hurt me. Forgive me, sweetheart.
Dr. Green.
Dr. Green, what's her first name? What's Dr. Green's first name?
Takesha.
I'm messing your name
We're
off.
going to get it to
Oh,
you.
your name. I'm sorry, forgive me. I love you.
But she knows you guys are
But Dr.
representing her.
Green, we're bringing her daughter out who has a book. There's a couple of other ladies who's going to be on the platform who has a book.
Takara Green, is that it?
Takara.
Something like that. Something like that.
We got Dr. right.
Well, we got Dr. Green.
That's
right. That's right.
There you go.
Okay. But anyway, we're bringing her daughter out, and then 2 other young girls. So again, living in that true walking in my story. You know, being what Rosa has been designed to do, have people not only just tell their story, but teach them the importance of never ever forgetting their history.
Sharon, you are busy.
Too busy.
So let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, your email, your website, whatever they need to know, so that we can make sure that not only they connect with you on events, but that they can get that book.
Yes.
So that we can keep this going.
All right.
Awesome. Going on right here.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So you can always reach out to me at www.leadingwithin.org. You can also email me at Sharon@leadingwithin.org or ccparker123@aol.com. I'm on Instagram. I have Facebook pages. I have fan pages. Always just put in Rosa or Rise, RYES, and then it'll come up. I'm very, popular out there when it comes to social media, and also look for Sharon_leadingwithin_ at Instagram, and Sharon E. Parker 1 at Twitter. If you want to go on Amazon, and actually download the book, which I'm encouraging you to do, please download it. Just go to Amazon, put in True Synergy Work, and it's going to pop right up. Or you can go on the website and get your hard copy, and we'll mail you a copy. But always feel free to call me on 202-365-8277. And alumni in Calvert County, we want you all to come out on February 19th. I forgot about that, because we're launching the actual Rise with Swag, Leading Within Roadmap to Self.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon, for sharing.
Oh, you playing with words. That was good. That was good.
No doubt about it.
Well, we're gonna keep the synergy going.
I got a question.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. Okay.
So,
man,
Sharon,
only man in the house making an opportunity.
What's your sign, Sharon?
Oh, my sign.
Your sign, your birth.
Oh, I'm never going to tell my sign, because they're going to be like, no, I can't give my sign.
You can't give your sign?
I'm not even doing it on social media. I don't know. I can't do it.
Okay. I didn't ask your age. I just asked I do better asking the age, huh?
I tell you, you're gonna laugh at this. I love asking people that same question.
And you don't share it?
But I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why I love asking it, because over the years, when you know your history, right? You study other things too. You study the universe, right?
Yes,
not
you
just
do.
the people
You
doing
do.
stuff, right? You study that universe, and then you kind of find out the character traits of people, the good, the bad, and the not that's so good. But you don't live by them. So I had to teach.
So you concerned about the stereotype of your sign?
Absolutely.
I guess we know what that sign is.
What do you
I don't know. I don't know.
So what do you think it is?
I don't know.
Okay.
The sign that I thought it was.
Yes.
Because I come from a line of very dynamic women.
Okay.
Okay, and so to your credit, for anybody who has as much energy and vision, but it's one thing to have energy, it's one thing to have ideas, it's another thing to have vision.
Yes.
But very few people can put all those things together and execute. As that, you can have a whole lot going on,
Yes.
but can you execute?
Yes.
Can you say, well, this is what I've done?
Yes.
People talk about, well, you do this, do that, but have you done anything? Has it result? Is there a finished product to it? Is there some? So I was thinking Leo.
You're wrong. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, you know.
Look. Hey.
But
So there it is. So
Okay, so
I'm
now
exposed.
you're going to share.
I'm
You
exposed
open
now.
a can of worms.
Okay.
I'm
You're
exposed.
not going to share,
I'm almost so
Sue.
mad that you said
Oh.
Leo because I have so many friends who are Leos that are probably like, I know that's right. So I heard that. I heard that. That's
Yeah, I've
funny
heard
though.
of it before.
That's why I don't do. That's why I ask, but I put it in my little Rolodex and do my assessment. I'm like, okay, I know when to call you and when not to call you.
So I have one other question.
That's
Since
awesome, though. That
since
was
I bombed on number one.
Number one.
compliment.
You
I
gotta come
bombed
back
on
with
number
something
one, but
stronger.
that's, you gotta take chances, right? So what did God tell you about why black people are being so
Excellent
attacked
question.
and
Love when
harmed?
people listen. Excellent question. What God revealed to me over the last 40 years is that black people are great and powerful. And whenever someone wants to hold a person down, make them feel lesser than what they are, they would do anything in their power to discredit them or condition it where they show the bad stuff but not the good stuff. And because of that, my focus has always been, don't get caught up in the religion, don't get caught up in politics. Show by example how you are as a person, how you even changed as a little girl, okay? But most importantly, keep the light shining on the positiveness of people out there who just overcame challenges God knows how many years ago, but people are overcoming challenges now. And that's why I continue to do what
You
I
must
do.
be my sign, because we talk about a lot of the same things.
He's gonna try to
But
figure
I won't be
this out.
sharing my side today. No, I'm not going to act like that. I'm not going to act like that.
Once we figure out one, we might have two.
I ain't going to act like that.
Right.
No. You
Well,
got
that's
Might be.
Perfect segue in.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are already hearing the voice of Mr. Darius Stanton, I want to welcome you to the show.
My pleasure.
Mr.
Thank you for
Peace
having me.
and Love is what he goes by.
No doubt about it.
Darius has had over 25 years experience in national public speaking. He's an executive leader. He is the CEO of the Stanton Group, management and human development firm that's located in Baltimore, Maryland? Bowie, Maryland. I'm sorry.
No
Wrong B.
problem.
Didn't mean to
I
take you all the way past me.
have some Baltimore roots.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Baltimore City.
Mr. Stanton has now a 5-year contract with a Fortune 100 company, Comcast. And you have helped the company increase connections from 50 to 97%, I understand.
Yeah, they've grown quite a bit. This was our 5th year. And actually, we just shifted that from that contract. But we did have a great 5-year relationship and still have the relationship. But they've moved to a whole nother level. The region actually, Comcast, like most national corporations, have regions, and so the Mid-Atlantic region, they were 9th ranked, and then they moved up to like 4 or 5. And they attribute that a lot to the work. But they have a dynamic team of people that work in that space, and the product is Internet Essentials. So anyone who is interested, it provides internet at a low cost, $9.95 a month, for families that receive free and reduced lunch, or schools that are 50% of free and reduced lunch. The entire school qualifies. And so right now, while federal government workers may be at schools, and they're looking to cut costs, a program for them to look into is Internet Essentials through Comcast. And it's also offered to veterans, seniors, And you can go on www.internetessentials.com and get all the information. Sign up from there or call in and ask them. They can, sign you up right away. $9.95 a month, and a laptop or a desktop for $150. Which is fully loaded, Microsoft's Office, virus protection, and wireless modem. So, our children are behind the gap in so many, behind the 8 ball in so many instances because they don't have that technology, the technical advantage.
Right.
Where we have laptops and computers at home, this is the extent of their computer.
Right.
Smartphones and tablets. And can you do a research paper on a smartphone? Not thoroughly.
Right.
So that's what we did for Comcast for 5 years, from Delaware to West Virginia.
Synergy is deep up in here.
It's deep. You got the right people in position here today. So with that, with all your leadership, it's taking you all around the world and different, from Africa to Cuba to some other areas of the country.
On my way to Africa. Haven't been there yet, just worked there.
Right.
Just have worked on projects there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but on my way to
Okay.
Gambia and Morocco this year.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to let you take the floor and go ahead and just share with us.
Well, first,
Give us
thanks
a synergy.
for having me on Girls Gabbin.
You're
Did I get it
welcome.
right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And I was very enlightening hearing all of the wonderful things that you're doing. Thank you for your work. I thank anybody who works with people. I'm raised in a human service family, raised in a civil rights family. My grandfather walked in Annapolis, Maryland, which is where I'm from, on the picking line, sat in. My grandmother used to send a cab for him at 5 o'clock in the morning, bring him home, soak his feet, and then send him to work at the United States Naval Academy, where he was a federal employee. And if you can imagine, in the 60s, being a federal employee, and Maryland is in the South, right? Very much so. So he could have been killed, lost his job, but he didn't stop. He didn't allow that to stop him for taking a stand for his people. Very quiet, gentle giant. He had a real nice baritone voice, could sing up a storm, but he was, and a disciplinarian for sure. But he was about his people, and so those are the type of people that I'm fortunate. My dad, has been working in the community. My grandmother had a beauty salon in the basement of our home. And so that's where I learned how to work with seniors, because I was calling them cabs and walking them to the door. And they were like, baby, come here, let me give you this $1, go get me a soda. And then the other one would be like, oh, here, let me give you $2, she cheap. And they're in their wage, having wage battles on the tips.
Right?
But what I learned, though, was customer service.
Absolutely.
And how to treat people, and also that it pays.
Absolutely.
And we don't do it for pay. Fortunately, as Andrea said, I'm in a space where I believe in peace and love. That's just I don't say HELLO because I believe that words have power. And so as a result of that, we have enough of that on earth as it is. So I promote peace and love. And I went to Jamaica with some Rastas when I was 12 years old, and that's really where I got it from. So I didn't just come up with it. I spent that 3 weeks in Jamaica up in the Blue Mountains
Pick that up.
and picked that peace of love, and been peace and loving ever since. So that's the root of peace and love. But yeah, I'm excited about being here, and I also want to pay homage to women. This is also the third, or 17, 18, so this is 19, the third anniversary of the Women's March. Excuse me, which was one of the most largely attended, but it was the largest march ever in the District of Columbia and throughout the world. And when you think about that, they did it in 90 days, or less. And the reason why it was so important is because women have been abused, sexually, physically, emotionally, around the world. It just as we live in what I believe is a rape culture, a rape society, work globally. And although you have women that are in charge of IBM, Xerox, and other companies now, they still are run by large, predominantly white male boards. And you have women that are entering politics. Of course, Congress is the largest influx of women ever.
Yes.
But again, they're still run predominantly by white males, okay, and males in general. So even in African countries, or people of African descent, those countries are still largely run, by males. And so I bring that up because women have been doing what it takes to move forward, but have not been given the love and support needed. They just have done it in spite of the abuse, in spite of the neglect, in spite of the mistreatment. And so it's just important for us to do that. And that does not, unfortunately, that has happened at the hands of men whom I had a conversation with a brother, and he used the term, and I agreed. Instead of men in power, I'm calling men in coward. And I say men in coward because what kind of man would allow women to just be abused knowing that this is taking place, whether it's in your office, whether it's in your dorm, whether it's, you know, and it may happen because you get caught up in the peer pressure and all the people going around, but at some juncture, it has to hit you that these things aren't right. And we need men to take stands in the boardroom. We need men to take stands on the corner. We need men to take stands in the schools. We need men to take stands everywhere women are in our own homes. You know, and I put myself I always look at myself in the mirror first. So, you know, I went on Google and the internet to find out what are the things that men do that are abusive or controlling, to find out, do I have those traits in my relationship? You know, what can I do to check myself to make sure I'm not doing something that is contributing to abuse or neglect or anti-supportive. And I think that's what Dr. King, you know, would definitely be about, is he would be making strides and making sure that we, you know, instead of using, I don't promote domestic violence prevention because why would I keep saying domestic violence? I'm a motivational speaker, and I would speak to audiences, and I would start, you know, I use call and response, and one of the chants that I would start with would be, brothers and sisters, we must stop killing one another. And they repeat it, brothers and sisters, we must stop killing one another. And I'd say, repeat this, please, brothers and sisters, we must stop going to jail. But what am I putting in the atmosphere? Killing one another and going to jail. So I flipped that. And now I say, brothers and sisters, we must start loving one another. So what goes in the atmosphere? Loving one another. And we also say, brothers and sisters, we must remain free. So now what am I saying? Free instead of jail. We hear jail all the time, dude. How often do we hear free?
Right.
You know, we hear hate all the time. How much, you know, people put on their shirts, haters and jealous this, and why are you promoting the very thing that you don't want people to be? You know, I don't like my hate. Why do you keep, why is HATE your motivation? Right. Because we live in a deficit-based society, but not our brother Dr. King. He was an asset builder. He talked about the strengths. He talked, even in America, and it's corrupt, anti-black, anti-anything but, you know, its own in origin. You know, he still looked for the best, and he still looked for the brightest, and he still looked for the best in people. And so, you know, our goal is to really promote what we call asset-based communications and community development, which is why we started the Peace in the Morning show. Now, if you haven't had a chance to watch the Peace in the Morning show, you need to go online right now, look at YouTube at Peace in the Morning with Darius Stanton, or Peace in the Morning on Facebook. And the reason why we created it is because we wanted to just do that, bring peace in the morning. You know, how many times do you hear people say, I don't even watch the news anymore? Because it's at 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you know, it's who got shot, who got robbed, who got this, who got that, what this person is doing. But think about it. We live in a deficit-based society. So we want to flip that thing. You know, we want to reverse it, like my boy in Boomerang said. We want to reverse that thing. Woo, baby, woo. Y'all might not be Boomerang fans, I don't know. But I'm a Martin fan, you know. So Boomerang, Martin, okay. But, you know, we want to reverse that. And the reverse is to promote the assets and the strengths. You know, you all write grants. You all are tied to that. And what do they do when you write a grant? The first thing they ask you is state the problem. Well, why not state the solutions? What are the assets in that community? And so, you know, if you think about America right now, and Donald Trump and R. Kelly are great examples of what America has done. And, you know, think about pimples and bumps.
Wait a minute.
Pimples and bumps are just basically what? Toxicity from the body.
True.
So that's really what Trump and R. Kelly have presented, is the toxicity that we embrace. They elected him. Even after all of the Lifetime story, people were standing in line at a club in Chicago years after the tape where he urinated on the sister. I'd never seen it. I never watched it. But it was alleged that he did that, you know, and all the other things that you've seen. and the fact that he, you know, all of that, right? But we still embrace it. Look at the Catholic Church. I mean, in Pennsylvania alone, over 1,000 cases where they've not only protected the priests, but then promoted them to bishops and cardinals. You know, when you watch how this, and nobody is calling for them to be shut down.
That's the disturbing.
You know, nobody's calling for them, you know, so finally people are starting to, you know, the state of Maryland is going after different archdioceses, and the state of Pennsylvania finally went after these but how long and how many children were abused? And it was, you know, and it was accepted. And we have, so my point is, we've accepted that deficit-based mentality. And so we have to create asset-based communications and community development. So where we are, and that's what Dr. King in his platform, you know, he talked about economics. You know, he talked about us working together collectively. So tomorrow in Annapolis, Maryland, we were hosting the parade, which has been canceled due to the inclement weather, the frigid temperature that girls Gabbin did brought me out to tonight. Thank you very much. And my lovely wife who's out in the hall. Thank you, honey, for coming and braving being with me. You know what I mean?
The storm.
But we're doing a call to action, and the call to action is going to be held at 87 West Street, and we're inviting anybody to come out. But we're focused on 4 major areas. One is domestic peace. We want men to promote domestic peace. We want men to go get counseling. We want men, whether you were abused, whether you witnessed abuse, or you were an abuser yourself, we need to get mental health counseling for men, because we need to break that cycle of violence. And one of the ways to do that is to address the trauma that our communities face. When shootings happen in our communities, they don't send in trauma teams unless it's a really good school system, right? But when it happens in those other communities, they send the trauma team goes in, make sure the school doesn't open for 2 weeks. Our babies got to go right back to school the next day. They outside playing on the kickball field or riding their bike or big wheel 2 hours or an hour right after the shooting.
Don't miss a beat, right?
You know, because we're so used to that trauma. It's not natural. It's not normal, and we shouldn't be living in that. We shouldn't accept that. And we shouldn't wait on somebody else to come do it for us.
Right.
We've got degrees in psychology. We've got degrees in social work and counseling. Why aren't we saying, you know what those children just had? Is somebody helping them to get through that trauma? So dealing with domestic peace. The second is focusing on the scourge of heroin and the opioid crisis. Now, remember, African Americans have been addicted to crack cocaine in large for a long time. White folks were addicted to cocaine, right? Black people went to jail for crack for 20 years. Cocaine, they went for 2, right? Or treatment. Now, heroin is out, the opioid crisis, you know, the addiction to pharmaceutical drugs, and we have millions of dollars, a state of emergency in the state of Maryland for heroin addiction. People have been nodding in Baltimore City for a long time, and no programs, no relief. Do you know right now, if you go turn in your heroin or your needles at the police department or the fire department, they would take you to get treatment?
Wow.
Right here in the state of Maryland, in some counties that are participating, you can go get treatment. Now, could you have gone to take your crack pipe and your crack bag and your spoon or whatever you were using to get high? No, you were going to jail, right? So I'm glad that it's changed and it's shifted, but the House is in session right now in the state of Maryland, right? So we need to make sure that the things that are going on, go on to the state of Maryland, House of Delegates and the Senate, and find out what's happening in our community so you can go testify, just sit in the room and say, I'm for it, stand when they call the issues that you believe in, but make sure that you're involved and engaged in the process. The third item is making sure that, or the other piece to the opioid is drug dealing, right? So we're killing ourselves, but we still glamorizing it. So over the last 6 months of 2018, when I was speaking, I would do a poll and I'd ask folks, what are the 3 most powerful shows in the black community on television? What do you think people said? Based on time, I'll give them to you. Power, Love and Hip Hop, and Empire.
That is scary.
Now, the worst thing about that is 2 out of the 3 shows, and actually even the third, all deal with families and relationships. And we praised it. And we watch it, and we support it. On Power, they have the little boy who actually was drinking lean. Then he got a girlfriend and his girlfriend, and they ended up having sex. So they showed that, and then he shot somebody, and then his mother and his father fought to get him off. So he got drugged up, was drug dealing, shot somebody, had sex, all of that, and then he was able to get off and living in a condo in New York City. So they glamorized all of that negative, going back the same thing with Empire. And then, of course, with Love and Hip Hop. And so those are the number 3 shows that people make sure they watch every week. And they binge watch on the weekends. So, again, back to asset-based communications and community development, what can we do to flip that and make shows that are hot like a different world? I never knew how powerful, when I was watching it, how powerful the messages were until now in a different world, you know? So, and the last piece is having our communities focus on economic development. All right. Well, that's not the last. The last is health, because we have to start eating and growing our own foods and drinking more water and making sure that we stay away from genetically modified foods and fight to make sure we get natural foods on the table and not eating out of cans that cause cancer and Alzheimer's and things of that nature, and pay attention to what red number 4, blue number 5, and all those chemicals and sodas, what they do to the body and how they're causing cancer. But making sure that we share our resources and the dollars come in our community. Stop supporting people that do not support you. Why are we supporting the NFL when the NFL turned its back on black people who are being killed, and 75% of the employees in the NFL are African Americans? Yet you only have no major majority owners of football teams are African American. Quick question, are their children playing football? Why are we supporting it? Because they shut our thing down. They was like, you can't protest against that, which was a positive protest. So that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow in Annapolis, Maryland, MLK Day. Call to action, 87 West Street, 12 noon to 2 p.m.
All right. You give people your information, how to reach you, your show.
Sure, peaceinthemorningshow.com. That's peaceinthemorningshow.com. We're a daily morning show. We'll be broadcasting Monday at 12 noon for the special MLK Day call to action. But after that, we'll be on 9 a.m. You'll be able to catch us on Facebook, YouTube, peaceinthemorningshow.com. So, you know, if you're interested in coming on board, you know, we'd love to see you. We'd love to promote you and get you out there, because we're pushing peace and love.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
This was wonderful. And I mean, if y'all didn't get nothing out of this show, I don't know what you're looking for. And I encourage you all to the synergy. I love that word.
Thank you.
But to continue the synergy and reach out to both of them and find out what they have going on for centuries. That's how we're going to keep this going.
That's right.
Is you stay in connection, and then you share. We share to shine. You share, you know, every time it grows, it's a wonderful thing. Yes. So this day reaches that branch out to the next person who heard this, that'll share it with the next person. So I've learned a lot just from sitting here in this 1 hour with you all. So
absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for giving
Thank you all for
Gabbin
coming.
a chance to
Thank
Lisa,
you.
You had asked us to leave some words of encouragement, maybe 1 or 2 words to
Please.
the public as we close out. And I just wanted to share that, guys, have sympathy for people. You don't know who's on edge right now because of so many different factors. So try to check yourself when you're feeling down and you don't have things going for yourself, because you never know that someone could be doing 10 times as worse as you are.
Absolutely.
And thank you, sir, for definitely sharing all your great information. I wanted to ask you a question, though. If Martin Luther King was here today, what would you think he would say about us collectively as a whole?
He would say that we have to continue to work to love ourselves.
Okay.
You know, we have to love ourselves, because once we love ourselves, everything on the outside doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Well, and that's a good roll-in, because tomorrow, even though it's a day off for some and it's a hard day off for others, it's not a day off.
That's right.
So we got work to do.
And people in worse conditions, at least you're going to get a check.
Yes.
Right.
Think about the people who have no idea where the check is coming from. They don't have a job. They don't have a place to stay. They don't know what they're going to eat tomorrow. They don't know how to feed their children. those people. So, you know, it's always somebody out there that's in a, you know, much more, you know, and God bless the federal workers, you know.
Absolutely.
And Martin Luther King theme is make it a day on, not a day off.
Absolutely.
That's right. Absolutely.
And to end this, Andrea is going to share with us how to get in touch with Girls Gabbin.
Yeah. Definitely.
We definitely want to have y'all come back. And
well, you all know we're on Facebook, Girls Gabbin. You can look us up on Instagram under Girls Gabbin as well. Of course, we have our own individual pages. You can always inbox us, touch and feel us, because we do reach out to you all. And our website is girlsgabbin at girlsgabbin.com.
How can I get one of them Black Lives shiny bling bling bling?
Oh, yeah.
Bling, 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 bling. That one is tight.
Well, this
but on the page, you know, she the fly, you know.
Thank you. But I give, let me give, this shirt is by James Anthony.
Okay.
So definitely reach out to him since I'm promoting the shirt. But it does say Black Lives Matter.
That's what it's tight.
Right. So thank you. Thank you.
So thank you all, and we will see you next Sunday. If we have 1 minute, we're just going to remind you that next Sunday, 7 to 8 on Win DC Radio. Download that app if you haven't. But our next show is going to be about health, wellness, and fitness. And we're going to have Paul.
And Mona Wiltshire.
Yeah, well, Paul Atkins, she said Paul ain't probably did that. But
Paul
we actually
Ackley.
advertised them and had to reschedule that show. So we're bringing that back. And a little touch is, because we want to put education with it, is we are bringing on a STEM program from H.C. Woodson.
Yes, we
Senior
are.
High
Yes, we
School,
are. That's
and we're
going
going
to
to
be
give them an
phenomenal.
opportunity to reach out to people to give back to these children.
Awesome.
And STEM is a wonderful way to do that. So please join us next week. But we'll be in touch. And thank you so much for joining in.
And that app is Win DC Radio Completely app, not just Win DC. Win DC Radio.
Right.
Thank you all for joining us. We will see you all next Sunday.
Awesome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
That was great.